Welcome to FBB Forum. I'm very pleased to welcome the stunning IFBB Pro women's physique competitor, Emilija Martic, to the podcast. Emilja has been competing in bodybuilding since 2011 and got her pro card in 2016. And her most recent show was just this past weekend at the Toronto Pro Supershow, where she won. So that was awesome. Now Emilja is getting ready for her first Olympia in Orlando in November. So welcome to FBB Forum. It's really good to have you here.
Yes, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Now, I'm going to start asking a few questions about how you got started in bodybuilding. And I was curious, did you have an athletic or sports background before you started in bodybuilding?
I did, yes. All throughout elementary and into high school. Like when I was younger, I did gymnastics. Actually took a few years off because I was diagnosed with cancer. So that kind of took me away from the sporting area until probably when I was in grade 7, I guess. And then I started maybe grade 6, 7. I was back into the sports and stuff like that. So, all the school sports and into high school, like basketball, rugby and hockey were my main two ones that I spent a lot of time doing and prioritized that.
Really?
So, yeah.
Rugby, that's really cool. That you don't hear about too many women's rugby players.
Yeah, I actually switched schools because I wanted to be on the football team and they wouldn't let me. And they said the next thing we can do is send you to the school that's down the street. They have a girls rugby team. And I was like, sign me up.
That's so cool.
I was MVP 3 years in a row. So it's kind of my thing.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Now with cancer, did you have to do treatment or like chemotherapy?
Yeah, I did the radiation and everything like that when I was younger. I was diagnosed just before I started grade 1. I think it was like a couple of days before my birthday in the middle of summer after kindergarten. So
really? Wow. Yeah. Wow. But I guess it probably made you stronger, maybe prepared you for the rigors of bodybuilding and stuff.
I would like to think it did, yes.
Oh, wow. And you're still with us too, so that's a good thing too.
I am, yes.
Now, how did you get started in bodybuilding and who convinced you to do your first contest?
I wouldn't say anybody really convinced me to do it. I actually, after high school, I stopped playing sports and I kind of just focused on college and university, and I was doing accounting, and 3 years into it, I realized I hated it. I was always reading articles of how accountants gain all this weight, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's a lot of...
I actually went to Europe and visited my dad's side of the family for 3 months, and I put on like 30 pounds in that 3 months, and I was like, oh my God, what happened? And then I just started making new friends, and I was kind of going into my kinesiology degree and just transferring over, and somebody that was in my class started talking about competitions, and I was like, what's this? So I kind of just like looked into it, and then I started kind of asking around. Somebody kind of put, hey, this is an amazing coach, like you should get her to do your show. And I was like, okay, sign me up. And I kind of just did my show just because I wanted a bit more like structure. I kind of wanted to learn more about nutrition and training in the gym. And I placed second. So I did really well. I think in my class, there was like 20 girls in it the first time.
Wow.
And I kind of just fell in love with it. And I've just started competing. And yeah, I just kind of took off.
Did you start with figure?
I did. Yeah, women's physique wasn't a category back in the day.
Yeah.
So I had climbed up the ladder and went to like nationals, and then they introduced a new category and they're like, now you're too big. I was like, last year you told me I was too small, so I put the size on. Now I'm too big. So I was kind of like left with a decision. My coach, he was like, well, 2 options. A, you can either continue training the way you like to training, or B, we're going to have to start introducing more cardio, more circuit training to start shedding off a lot of the muscle that you just put on in the past year.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like the sound of that. I was like, so let's just do what we're doing and we'll just go up. And I started women's physique and then started from the bottom again, kind of just worked my way back up to the top. And I've never regretted switching categories. So
did you like ditching the heels?
You know what? I still kind of like it. It made me feel really girly, but I like all the more posing that's involved with the women's physique. So
yeah, if folks who listen to this podcast know I like the posing. I like the physique because And it's more creative too, you know. I like the
Exactly. Yeah. There's even harder aspects that you have to accomplish along with it, right? So
yeah, I think takes more work, I think, going through that posing routine like that. Yeah.
you said it, not me.
That's really cool though. Now I was curious, when you first started competing, did you have like a fitness role model?
Well, back in the day when I was getting into it, I was really new. I didn't know anybody, but Aaron Stern was kind of somebody that I looked up to. And then I kind of surpassed her size, and I just kind of started just doing me and didn't really have too many role models. I was just using Olympians as guidelines as to be like, hey, if I want to be successful, I have to get my physique to look like this.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Sure.
yeah.
And I actually saw Erin Stern because she lives in Tampa too, and I've seen her like a few times around town. But she's really awesome. And it's interesting that she's doing bikini now. Or I think she
Yeah, she
did.
went the opposite direction. Well, I mean, figure got a
Uh-huh.
lot bigger over those years too, right? So,
They did get a lot
yeah.
bigger. Yeah, it made sense for her to do bikini, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
yeah. One thing I wanted to mention too, that when you mentioned nationals, you mentioned you're talking about Canadian nationals, right? Because you're from Canada.
Yeah, so there was like a novice show, and then you had to win that and go to provincials, win that, and then you had to go to nationals to win your pro card. It's not like that anymore.
Hmm.
It's just you get top three in your novice show, and then you can go to a pro qualifier, right? So it has changed the structure over the last few years as well. So
That's cool. There's a lot of great bodybuilders out of Canada for sure.
there's more of us kind of popping out, which is really nice. So it'd be nice to see more Canadians on that Olympia stage.
Well, the having Vancouver and Vancouver Island and Toronto, you know, with bodybuilding and physique, I think that's really good that both of those
Yeah.
divisions are in Canada like that. So,
Yeah,
um,
very thankful that they brought those shows here in the last couple of years. So
yeah, and I've heard they're really excellent shows too.
yeah, the Vancouver Island one's amazing. Yeah, the people that put it on, they're great guys. They're honestly, they just looked so much after the athletes and what they need, and they're kind of just really focused on making sure that we're all ready and have everything that we need and taken care of. So it's a refreshing to be a part of that show. So
That's what I've heard. I think it's one of the best for the competitors from what I've heard. It's just really
yeah,
good. And that's close for you too. You're in the Vancouver area.
yeah, it's just a ferry ride over, so it's close.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when you first started competing, did you get nervous up on stage in a bikini? Because I would think it would be kind of nerve-wracking being up there.
I still get nervous. It hasn't
Yeah.
changed. I
Okay.
mean, I guess I'm not so nervous wearing something super tiny on stage, but yeah, that first time I was like, oh my God, this thing is so small.
Yeah.
But now I get nervous with everything else, but it doesn't really ever go away. So I
Yeah.
don't want any suit mishaps or malfunctions on stage, right? So that's always in the back of my head.
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you mean. I don't know if you're willing to talk about it, but I think that happened in Vancouver. There was like a suit malfunction. Like, oh.
Oh my God, yes, I was in a side try, and thank goodness that my arm was holding down my strap, because if not, I would have flashed the whole audience, okay? I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And I was like, I guess the only thing I can do is run off, and hopefully it didn't snap and just the clip came out. And thankfully, the clip just wasn't secured in tightly. So they just put it back in, and I went back out on stage.
Oh wow, that's a relief. Yeah, I felt bad
Yeah.
for you. I was like, oh geez, that's terrible. That's the worst thing
Yeah.
that can happen on stage, I think.
That's the only time it's ever happened. So thankfully, it's the last.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. So as we talked about, you know, you won the Toronto Pro and congrats on that. And
Thank you.
were you surprised when you won, or did you expect it, or how did you feel?
You know, I'm never ever really gonna expect anything until it's like finalized and announced, because I don't know, I just like I had a good feeling about it, but I mean, I wasn't gonna be like, I'm gonna win this and I won it, right? So
Sure.
just a waiting game and being respectful and to everyone else too, right? So
Yeah, that's awesome though. Yeah, I was really pleased that you won. And
yes, thankfully.
And I know you had really been kind of knocking at the door for your past several shows, and you'd placed as high as second several times,
Yeah.
but not getting the win. But was that kind of discouraging for you, or did it kind of motivate you to keep pushing?
You know what? Honestly, I'm like kind of upset that I didn't win the other shows, but the package that I brought to Toronto that I won in, I'm very happy with.
Hmm.
Yes, I was happy with the physiques that I brought earlier, but I wasn't 100% satisfied. So I was okay that I got second.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? When I want to win, I want to have a close, flawless physique
Hmm.
and be like, that's going to be an Olympia stage physique, right?
Hmm.
So it was kind of a bummer, but I mean, I got so much experience from it, and I'm proud of the physique that I won with. So I don't have any regrets for with it.
Great.
It taught me a lot mentally and physically, and it just kept pushing harder and harder because I knew I could do better, and I improved with every show every 2 weeks, and there's not much more that you can do with that. And to me, that's very satisfying. I felt really accomplished.
Sure.
And that's all I really strive to do is just kind of be better every time I step on that stage.
That's great. Yeah, you looked really good in Toronto. I thought you looked excellent, and I thought you were going to win it too. I kind of predicted that. So
Yes.
now, in terms of earlier this year competed at Vancouver Island and in Shreveport. I was curious, what was your experience like at those two shows? You mentioned a little bit about Vancouver.
Yeah, so Vancouver was awesome. I went to St. Louis too. The show was run great, very smoothly as well.
Oh, I
I
forgot about
mean,
St. Louis. Sorry. Yeah, that's
yeah.
true. Yeah.
um, Shreveport, I mean, it was okay. Would I go back? Probably not. It wasn't
Yeah.
the best experience as an athlete, to be honest. But
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to step on any toes. They still put the show on, and everyone was taken care of. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
I got to attend that show, and I put some videos up, and yeah, it was an interesting show, and it was first one I've been to in a while. So I was just glad to get to see some
Yeah.
bodybuilding again. Yeah. Um, I was curious, so for these different shows you've had this season, have you had a chance to get feedback from the judges on where to improve your physique?
I haven't got any feedback, but I'm still waiting on some feedback from the Toronto so that I can make the changes needed for when I step on the Olympia stage. So
Terrific. That's great. Yeah. And I don't think you're gonna do another show before Olympia, are you?
no, I was losing my marbles these last 2 weeks. I definitely bit off more than I could chew. So a little more planning is going to go into it next year, knowing how I felt this time around. I'm just going to plan a bit better, something so that's a bit more mentally stable for me. Like it was a struggle doing 4 shows in 8 weeks for sure. So
I
I definitely
bet.
I need a little more time in between the shows. So
Yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah. Did you have any that were back to back, like week to week, or did you have any, or
they
the
were 2 weeks apart, all 4 of them.
2 weeks apart? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Plus the expense too to travel and everything.
Yes, that too. That's a whole different story.
Yeah. Yeah. At least with Toronto Pro, we get some prize money and some of the second place too. You got some prize money too
Yeah,
to
I
have.
think all top three got prize money.
That's terrific. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And the Olympia's in Orlando, so you got well, do they still pay for your travel?
Yes, they do.
Oh, that's really nice. So that's
Yeah.
gonna make life easier
Don't
for you.
ask me how it works because I have no idea yet.
Yeah. No, that's gonna be good for you. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna see you compete there too, since I live in Tampa. So I'll go
Oh,
root for you.
nice.
Yeah. Now I was curious, what's your favorite muscle group to train, and what would you say is your least favorite?
Oh boy. I think I go through different stages of what I like training. I go through a big period where I just like to train glutes and hammies. Sometimes it's back. There's some days where I just really like to train shoulders.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really have a body part that I don't like to train,
Hmm.
but I mean, like, I don't like doing deadlifts. They're so hard. And because I power lift for like a year and a half, they got pretty boring.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
all I was doing in the gym 5 times a week.
Yeah, that would get
So it
kind of
kind of
boring.
took the fun out of that. But yeah, I mean, you have to enjoy everything really. So
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that's good that you feel that way too. I know I hear from a lot of ladies who just say, especially like biceps training is super boring, and it just
it
bugs
is
them.
boring, yes, for sure. I mean, yeah, no, I could back in the day, I would say I would hate training chest, but because I started powerlifting, I'm very interested to see how strong I am in certain lifts. So that's kind of keeps things fun and entertaining for me to do it that way. So I always kind of look at different perspectives as to, hey, if I'm training this, I don't really like it, but I like seeing how strong I am, right? So that kind of is what motivates me to do it.
Do you still do any powerlifting meets or
No, I can't do them while I compete. It's totally different training style, totally different like weight category and stuff like that. But who
Sure.
knows? Maybe I set records in both of my meets I did, so I might have to
Oh,
go back and beat those. So
yeah, sure. I would think
yeah.
you have to be worried about injury too with powerlifting.
Yes. Oh my God. I had my bicep tendon was out of place because I injured my shoulders and
Oh,
yeah. But I did get some really good flexibility in my hips that are very beneficial right now. So
oh, very
I
good.
worked on that a lot so that I could squat better. So it transferred into bodybuilding very well.
Oh, in terms of posing and such too?
No, just being able to like train legs more proficiently,
Mm,
making sure that I'm getting like the maximum output that I can with every exercise and stuff because I do have the mobility for it. I'm not
mm.
limited to certain exercises.
Sure, that makes sense. That's very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was helpful for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think would you want to go back to powerlifting eventually, do you think? To do meets?
I've actually been looking when I'm done all this, I might do like a strongman competition.
Oh yeah? Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, not for another few years. I have other goals currently right now, but it is on the list of things that I want to try out at least once. So
Okay, terrific. That's great. Now, I was going to ask you a few questions about prep and coaching, and I was wondering what's the toughest aspect of competition prep for you?
drinking so much water and peeing all the time.
Yeah, I've heard
How
that.
sleep when you have to pee every 45 minutes and you're exhausted during the day.
Oh no, that's not good.
Yeah. I mean, I love going to the gym and training, so that's never really the issue. Cardio, especially during the summer, I love being outside and outdoors. So, I mean, maybe one of the downfalls is when it's always raining here and I have to do cardio indoors, but I read a lot, so I kind of start learning. So it has its perks, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it does rain a lot up there in Vancouver, doesn't it? That's kind of famous for
yes, it does.
that. Oh man, that would drive me crazy. I'd like being in Florida, get some sunshine, all the time, pretty much. Yeah.
Don't talk to me about that, okay?
Okay, sorry.
I'm trying to get out of here, okay? I'm a summer person. I don't like rain and gloomy or winter, to be honest.
Sure, I
So,
understand. No, Florida's a good place. I like it. Although it's getting a little crowded, but yeah.
is it? Well, I'll have to vacation there to find out first.
Yeah, that's true when you come to Orlando, and it'll still be warm in November too when you come.
Perfect.
Now, do you have a prep coach?
I do. I started working with Neil Hill after I took 5 years off. I did kind of some coach searching and tried to figure out who would be match my personality and training style and somebody who can be straight up honest, but give me like the lowdown if I need to get my shit together. And so I found Neil, we had a talk and I kind of knew we just kind of clicked right away. And yeah, here we are. We're going to the Olympia.
That's so cool. Is he
Yeah.
from England or?
He is, yes. And he's from Wales, I think.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
England? Yeah,
Or
maybe. Not too
UK.
sure. Yeah, but he actually lives in Vegas. So
Oh, does he? Oh, very
yeah,
cool. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. And I was curious, do you have a posing coach too?
No, I don't have a posing coach
Hmm.
necessarily, but um, I have like people down here who compete professionally too, and I get the odd like posing sessions with them and tips and tricks and stuff. So I like to kind of outsource from different people because everybody has different ways to explain things that click with my head. And sometimes they say things I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So
Hmm.
I'll pose with somebody else and I'm like, oh, that makes so much more sense. Like the light bulb just kind of went on. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Your posing is really good.
Thank you.
Does Neil help you out with the posing at all?
No, he does not.
No? Okay, cool.
No.
We'll make sure to include Neil's Instagram down below, and I'll include yours too.
Perfect.
Yeah, definitely. Um, and yeah, I bet he's really proud of you for getting to the
He
Olympia.
is, yes.
especially
He
after.
said I would make it to the Olympia stage, and I believed him, and here we are. So
Yeah, I saw your post dedicated to him. That was really nice.
yes, thank you. Yeah, he was very appreciative. He actually reached out, so it was nice.
I was
So
thinking it's tough too, knocking at the door, like we said, and you just got so close, and that now you got it. Now you got the
yeah.
qualification. I was curious, what advice can you give to up and coming bodybuilders who are looking for a good coach?
So do your research, find out their education. I mean, if they just took a weekend course and did one show, I mean, the likelihood of you getting a cookie cutter diet is very high.
Mhm.
You're going to need somebody who's educated, who has multiple tools, multiple different methods, because no body is the same, right? Look at like their past clients. See when the last time they took a course. See kind of what things they're interested. See what their process is. Do you do macros? Do you believe in no carb days? What's your input on cardio or supplements? Ask questions.
Mm.
Just because you see their Instagram page and they look all fancy and they have all this nice photography and videography
Mhm.
doesn't mean that they're going to be educated. They just spent money on somebody to make them look really flashy.
Yeah.
So when it comes down to it, see, like, education is so important. Make sure they're doing science-based research and applying those methods to you.
Mhm.
And that would be like the biggest thing for me when
That's
I
really,
when I have to tell other people what they should look for in another coach.
that's really good advice. Yeah. I think that is a problem. I've heard that from other ladies about cookie cutter approach, and it's and um you know, it's almost like a lazy way to be a coach, I think, to
Yeah.
you're not showing as much investment in the person's health and stuff if you're not
Yeah.
really.
Well, it's crazy. Like I hear girls post, I'm doing an hour and a half to 2 hour cardio every day at 12 weeks out, and I'm on zero carb days. I'm like, what? You're 12 weeks out? Like, were you eating no carbs before you started? Or if you're already having to do no carbs, maybe you should pick a later date. Maybe you might have some metabolism issues that need to be addressed. So
Yeah.
like make sure your blood work and all your hormones are right. If you're trying to fight something that's off, you're just going to do more damage in the end, and it's just going to take longer to repair. And you
Mhm.
know what, that could mentally like mess you up in the long run, right? So
Yeah.
the stage will always be there. There's always going to be a show. They're not going anywhere. Your health is so important. It's
Yeah.
why I didn't end up doing a third show last year, because I got into a huge flare with colitis after my second show. And
Oh,
honestly, putting my health on the line to grind it out, even though I was 1 point away from making it to Olympia last year, it wouldn't have been worth it, because who knows what would have happened. I could end up in the hospital. I could have done more damage. Like anything could have happened, right? And it's not worth it. So it's just a
yeah.
show.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially at the lower levels, like what you're gonna win a $5 medal. It's your health should never be put on the line for something like that at all. So
That's really good advice. Yeah, you were just 1 point short because they had the point system last year, right?
yeah, 1 point, and I had another show lined up, and I was too sick to do it. I
Yeah.
took 5 months off from the gym after my last show, and there's no
Wow.
way. So
And not only would you have had to do an extra show, but you would have then you do the Olympia and you'd be.
exactly, yeah. And who knows? I might not be on Olympia stage this year. I could have been in the hospital trying to recover still, right?
That's true.
So
Yeah. How is the colitis now? Has it been resolved or?
It cleared all up. I started working with a new naturopath, and she was amazing.
Hmm.
And I cleared up right in time when I wanted to start prep at the beginning of January, and it's been a smooth sailing since. So fingers crossed.
That's terrific. That's really good. I bet that wasn't much fun. Yikes.
No, not at all. I
Yeah.
was. It's. They say like somebody with colitis is like their energy levels as if a normal person went 3 days without sleeping.
Really? Wow,
Yeah.
that's not good. Yeah. Ay, ay, ay. But there's a lot of pain too. That just sounds.
Yeah, that's a whole different topic as well.
Yeah. Ay, ay, ay.
So.
Now I was curious. Now you're still a coach, right? Too.
Yes, I do online coaching. Mainly, I do some in-person sessions, but only for a select amount of people. So
And I was curious, are there any clients that you'd like to highlight here?
All my clients, they're all making like tremendous progress. They're also happy. They get food. They don't get so much cardio. They all just constantly love learning everything. I'm always available when they ask questions, why am I doing this? And I'm able to provide an answer, which if your coach can't, then maybe you should be looking for another coach because they're probably just doing a cookie cutter diet or
Yeah.
some trend that they found online.
Okay.
Like I do have a kinesiology background and I have my nutrition certificate, and I'm constantly upgrading my courses every year so that I'm like on top of all the new science and stuff like that. So
Great.
all my clients, they're all doing great. So I don't want to single anyone out because they're all equally important to me.
That's terrific. That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know another Canadian with a kinesiology degree who's also a coach is Alyssa Coppolino, and
Yeah.
I think she brings good perspective with her clients too.
Yeah. I mean, when you know the human anatomy and everything, and like why like nutrition is the way that it is and why you need a certain amount of stuff, it's a lot easier to be like, oh, this isn't working because this is happening, so let's do this, right? It's
Hmm.
just easier to apply all the methods when you scientifically know things. So yeah.
That's great. No, I think that's really good background for a coach for
Yeah.
sure. Now, I was curious, I was going to ask a couple of questions about family and home life, and
Yeah.
I've met your mom. I know your mom is a huge fan, but what do your parents think about your fitness career, and are they supportive?
Wow. So my mom's been a huge supporter in everything I've did ever in my life, even though she wasn't a huge fan of I playing rugby. She was stressed her out on the sidelines, but she was
Really?
still a huge supporter.
Uh-huh.
Um, my dad from Europe, and so he's a little more low key, but
Hmm.
I know he's really supportive. He knows what I'm doing is very challenging, and I know he's proud of me, even though he doesn't know how to express it all the time. But
Sure.
that's okay. We're very similar that way. So he shows me that he loves me in his own ways, and I accept that.
Okay. Very
My
cool.
boyfriend Bert, he's the reason why I started competing again. Because I never thought that I'd be on the stage again. So I do like have to thank him for allowing me to be me and doing the things that I love to do again, to be able to find myself.
Great.
So Bert, my boyfriend, and my mom kind of fight for that number one spot all the time.
Oh, that's
sometimes they
great.
sometimes they exchange it. My mom's number one supporter during certain things, and he's a number one supporter, and so it's good. Yeah, I have a great support team for sure.
Yeah, your mom, Jackie, was at Shreveport, but then Bert came to Toronto, right?
Yeah, Bert's been at all my shows. It was just kind of like a little scheduling error because the last minute I decided to go to Shreveport.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, so he wishes he's there, but he realized he will never miss a show ever again because he didn't like having to be waiting for the text messages and stuff like that. So
Oh, sure.
so you will
Yeah.
always see him at all my shows from now on.
That's terrific. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, y'all had a nice post together, and that was really sweet, I thought, on Instagram. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And I'll make sure to include his Instagram too down below too.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I was curious, do you find it hard to kind of juggle the demands of work and home life with your bodybuilding career?
Um, so it's kind of I like a priority list, and when I get closer to a show, I definitely have to prioritize my prep a bit more. But it just means that I have to be very time management because I can't let things slide. I can't let other parts of my life fall apart because I'm choosing to do this. It's not how life works.
Yeah,
So I
sure.
just make sure that I'm on top of things, and when I'm not available, that I have things done that need to be done, and then like things like that, right? So I try to balance everything out, but some days certain things are more important than other things. So I just kind of create a list. That's kind of how I manage my work and personal life. So
I feel like you have to be almost like a little bit OCD to pull it off because they're
just a little bit.
which
My calendar is a very important tool for me.
I bet, yeah. I think I'm like the opposite of OCD, so I don't know if I could even pull off a bodybuilding career. It's like too
Yeah. As soon as I did my first show, I realized how more OCD I became in organization and time management. It was crazy. But you know what? It was so beneficial to like all aspects of my life, learning how to be able to do that, which is why I think I'm so successful in a
yeah,
lot of things that I choose to do in my life because I'm able to do that. So
that is really good. I'm just too chill. I'm too like go with the flow.
Yeah.
But that fits my personality too. So I just have a couple more questions. We have about 7 minutes left.
Yep.
I was curious, when you're out in public, do you like to show your muscles off in public, or do you prefer to stay covered up?
Whatever the weather's like, that's how I'll dress. It kind of was weird at the beginning. I'd always notice people staring at me, but now it's so common that I just kind of tune it out. I don't notice it, but when I'm with other people, they'll notice other people noticing me and like turning backwards to like take a second glance at me. But
Hmm,
it's just, yeah, it's just kind of become the norm for me, and I don't really notice it. I'm like, meh,
sure.
you like it or you don't like it. I don't care.
You get people approaching you asking questions about bodybuilding?
Yes, a lot of more females these days, especially younger females, which is amazing. It's definitely become more accepted now and more like appreciative, and
Hmm.
it's a really good feeling. So I remember back in the day, I was constantly being told that I looked like a man,
Hmm.
which I was like half the size that I am now. And now I don't really get any of those compliments. Everyone's like, wow, it's so amazing. Can I touch your biceps? How much can you bench? How much can you squat? So
Wow.
it's kind of cool in that way, right? So not too many very negative comments. I mean, you always have those couple of ignorant people in life, but you
Hmm.
know what? I don't want to be them anyway. So their comments really just don't affect me. I'm just like, meh.
That's great. Do you have
Yeah.
to deal with many trolls on social media and stuff? Or
No, not too much actually.
no,
I've been really lucky that way.
that's
But
good.
I'm sure they'll come. So
Yeah, maybe you because you'll have more spotlight now, I think, with your first Olympia too. So
yeah.
yeah.
I
Uh,
just I try not to let other people's opinions don't matter. I don't know them. They what their opinion doesn't affect my life. It doesn't
mhm.
affect the choices that I make. So I just don't let it mentally interrupt my thought process or how I'm feeling. I like the way I look. I did this. It was hard work. I'm proud of it. I don't care because guarantee I don't like their physique at all. So I don't want to be them. So
Sure. I like that. That's really
yeah.
cool. Yeah, definitely. I appreciate that. And that's a good way of looking at it too, for sure.
Yeah.
I was curious, do you kind of find it hard or tough mentally to deal with like body image when you're going from the bulking phase to lean phase and vice versa, I should say. Um,
Um, I did when I was younger because society kind of made it that way. But as I got older, I just became more comfortable at all stages. I
mhm,
mean, if I'm uncomfortable with my body, I'm just going to change it so that I am comfortable. I mean, I don't really have to get too heavy in the off season. I'm not really looking to put on more size, just creating more density. And the research out there says that you don't have to be 30 pounds heavier to add muscle or add weight, right?
mhm,
So just do it the smart way. I put enough weight on where I feel strong in the gym and I can make changes, and it'll be easier for me to transition into a prep and lean out. And I don't have to do a 20-week cut because I decided to be 30 to 40 pounds. Have I
mhm.
in the past? Yes, I have. Learned the hard way. I love eating food. But I mean, as you get older, your kind of perspective on things like that just changed, and it just got easier. And so
Hmm.
yeah,
That's really cool. No, I think that's good, and that's part of just being comfortable in your own skin too, I think.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it comes with age, and it doesn't matter what physique you are, right? If you're a bodybuilder or not, I think we're all kind of programmed to feel like that as we're aging, right, into our 30s and then to
Mhm.
teens, right? So it's very common for everyone, regardless of whatever your body structure is. So.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Now, I was curious, what would you do to improve the sport of bodybuilding if you were kind of in a leadership position, and what would you do to make the sport better?
Try to find some more consistency with judging.
Mhm. Yeah, that comes up a lot on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, a lot of shows are very consistent, but there's always the odd one that it's like, what? Like that to me doesn't seem like the criteria. I mean, in any category, right? Not just women's physique. And I know a lot of coaches, they're saying, we don't know what the judges are looking for. We just go with the last show and try to aim for that. And hopefully that's what they want again.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe having an overview of a judge who overviews the results of every show and asking, why did you pick the winner? And like, what's the criteria that they meet with what's online? I mean, like that could be something beneficial as well. So,
Yeah, I think there's so much blurring of the divisions, and I think it makes it really hard for you ladies, I think, to
Yeah.
know what the judges
And
want.
yeah, I mean, and women's physique too, maybe adding a height and weight limitation like men's physique would be a good idea as well.
Yeah, I
So,
like that. I think like a lightweight and heavyweight or something like that, you know.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, so they do that with classic physique, and I heard that they're going to implement that with men's physique for next year.
really?
So, yeah.
I think that's a good idea. I think that would be great.
Yeah, if they're doing that with the men, why not the women too, right?
Yeah. Well, back in the day too, I remember when it was just one category, women's bodybuilding, and for a few years, the Ms. Olympia was had heavyweight and lightweight, and I thought that was
Yeah.
terrific. And they didn't stick with it for more than like 2 or 3 years, I think. But
Yeah. It's
I
still an
liked it.
evolving sport. They're still trying to make it better and working out the kinks, which isn't a bad thing. So,
That's true, and I do like the fact there's different divisions now too.
oh,
And
for sure.
yeah, and just more opportunities, for the
Yeah.
ladies and the men. Now we're almost out of time. I was wondering if you wouldn't mind doing a quick flex for me. When you do it though, say something because the camera will go back to you.
All right, I can't not shout out my supplement company sponsorship, Ballistic Labs. So this one's for you.
Awesome. Thank you. You look really great.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I'll make sure to include the company too down below as well. But thank you so much, Emilija. It's really a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me on. I enjoyed it. It was
Thank
fun.
you. And I'll get this posted relatively soon. I'll keep you posted and tag you and stuff too.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.